Hello everyone. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about two readings. They are A Lady of the Assassins and Down the Rabbit Hole. Both the readings are set up in Mexico during the time of drug wars. Both the stories have all the essential elements such as an introduction, the climax, and the conclusion. The first reading, that is The Lady of Our Assassins, deals with a 55-year-old guy who is gay and likes young hitmen. He meets the love of his life, Alexis, and later on loses him. Then he meets Wilmer and finds out that Wilmer is the one who murdered Alexis. He tries to forgive him and also loses him as he is murdered. In the end, we see that Fernando is all alone and there is no happiness in this life. While the second reading, that is Down the Rabbit Hole, deals with a guy named Totchley, or better known as Usagi by his teacher. He is a child of a Mexican drug lord and has all the privileges in his life. We see that he is an irresponsible and careless child throughout the story. His teacher betrays his whole family by exposing them in a magazine. In the end, we come to know that Toshley isn't even concerned about Mazatlan, that is his professor. He doesn't even think about betrayal and vengeance. He is still busy in his real motive of being a samurai. The question we're going to address today is Fernando was betrayed by Wilmer, and Toshley, on the other hand, was betrayed by Mazatlan. While Fernando experiences betrayal and vengeance, Totally, on the other hand, is not even thinking about Mazatlan. Instead, he is busy in his own world. Why do you think the author set up the plots this way? What do you think each author might be saying about betrayal or vengeance? The thesis statement in response to the question is the author sets up the plot this way to give us a similarity between Fernando and Totschli, as Fernando sometimes acts childish when it comes to Alexis murdering people, while the narrator uses betrayal and vengeance as their adult emotions and cannot be expected from a child like Totschli, who is entirely self-centered and careless. We will now begin with textual evidences. You are currently seeing the first one. In this one, Fernando is behaving like Totschli. In this scenario, he clearly approves of Alexis murdering random people on the streets. Just like Totschli narrates murders happening in his palace, we can see how Totschli doesn't get to say anything in such murders, and Fernando also chooses to acknowledge them. This exhibits the similarities between both of them. Now we will start analyzing the quotations. You are currently seeing the first one. Fernando is behaving like Totschli. In this scenario, he clearly approves of Alexis murdering random people on the streets, just like Totschli narrates murders happening in his palace. We can see how Totley doesn't get to say anything in such murders, and even Fernando is promoting such things. Despite being the elder and experienced one, he is supporting such childish behavior of Alexis. Alexis is shooting random people on the streets just to impress Fernando, and guess what? He is also getting impressed by such behavior. This is not something you would expect from a 55-year-old man. This makes him so childish and similar to Totley. Fernando is behaving childish, just like Totschli in this scenario. He clearly approves of Alexis murdering random people on the streets, just like Totschli narrates murder happening in his palace. We can see how Totschli doesn't get to say anything in such murders, and even Fernando is promoting such things. Despite being the elder and the experienced one, Fernando is supporting such childish behavior of Alexis. Alexis is shooting random people just to impress Fernando, and he is also getting impressed by such behavior. Who gets impressed by taking lives for fun? This is not something you can expect from a 55-year-old man. This makes him so childish and similar to Toshtley. In this scenario, Toshtley is describing a murder that just took place in his presence. While at least 4 in the heart signified it was a cold-blooded murder, and Totley is used to all of this now. While the number 20 signifies how normal it was for Totley to count dead bodies and corpses in his palace. It looks like this is just a part of his daily routine. It was very normal for the child to witness murders. Whereas a normal child would not experience something like this. Being the son of a drug lord has given him this power to acknowledge murders around him as easy as acknowledging books. Torchly is narrating a murder that took place in his presence. He can simply narrate and not make any changes to the situation as he is just a child. While at least 4 in the heart signifies it was a cold-blooded murder, and Torchly is used to all of this now. While the number 20 signifies how normal it was for Torchly to count dead bodies and corpses in his palace. It looks like it was just a part of his daily routine. It was very normal for him to witness murders, while a normal child would not experience something like this. Being the son of a drug lord has given him this power to just acknowledge murders as easy as acknowledging books. This is so similar to Fernando narrating the murders that Alexis did to justify his love for Fernando. In both the cases, we can see that the protagonists are just narrating the incident and behaving childish. These incidents tell us that Fernando acts childish like Torchly. In this quotation, we see that Fernando feels so bad after killing an injured dog that he wanted to kill himself. This was despite the fact that the dog was severely injured and had no chances of survival. This clearly tells us that Fernando had a conscience of an adult and he couldn't take innocent lives of animals, unlike Toshtley. This is the incident where Fernando felt so bad after killing an injured dog that he wanted to kill himself. This was despite the fact that the dog was severely injured and had no chances of survival. This tells us that he had a conscience of an adult and he cannot take innocent lives of animals like Torchly. This is what makes him different from a careless child. He knows the values of morals and ethics. This is certainly not the case with Torchly. While I don't want to live anymore signifies the extent to which Fernando was affected by this incident. Just as months before in my apartment, Alexis managed to put the gun aside, sending the bullets splattering into the water. He's used to give us an idea that Fernando had previously tried to kill himself. Fernando had a conscience of an adult and knew the values of morals and ethics. He knew his boundaries as a person. This is the incident where Fernando felt so bad after killing an injured dog that he wanted to kill himself. This was despite the fact that the dog was severely injured and had no chances of survival. He realized that he can't take innocent lives of animals like Torchly. This is what makes him different from a careless child. This is certainly not the case with Torchly. While I don't want to live anymore signifies the extent to which Fernando was affected by this incident. Just as months before in my apartment, Alexis managed to put the gun aside, sending the bullet splattering into the water, is used to give us an idea that Fernando had previously tried to kill himself. In this quotation, we get to know that Torchly actually murders a lovebird while trying out his new pistol. He is being so childish and immoral here. He doesn't even care about taking an innocent life and thinks the others are creating a fuss about it. While him counting the number of lovebirds left with him tells us that he was just a reckless, spoiled brat. We can clearly see that Tochtley doesn't have a conscience like Fernando. He doesn't know his boundaries as he is a reckless spoilt brat. Tochtley is being childish and immoral here. He doesn't care about taking an innocent life and thinks others are creating a fuss about it. He just killed a lovebird for trying out a pistol, while him counting the number of lovebirds left tells us that he had no value for life. While lovebirds are faggots is used by Tochtley to justify his shameless act of killing a perfect lovebird while Fernando killed a dog that had no chances of survival. This incident of taking innocent lives brings out the differences in Fernando and Toshchili. It was now time for Fernando to experience vengeance and betrayal. When he gets to know that Wilmer is the one who killed Alexis, Fernando stood still for some time as he couldn't figure out what was going around him, as if he had lost all his senses. When he came back into his senses, he knew what he had to do. I knew I had to kill him signified the feeling of betrayal, and now vengeance was something that Fernando really wanted. This is certainly not the case with Toxley, as he is not interested in both vengeance and betrayal. In this scenario, we can clearly see that Toxley isn't even thinking about Mazatzin's betrayal. In fact, he is exhibiting the signs of a self centered child who is just busy in his own world. He is just obsessed with the fact of being a real samurai at any cost that he starts imagining what he would have done in Mazatzin's place. Clearly, we can see that there are no signs of vengeance and betrayal. This ultimately supports our claim that they are adult emotions and cannot be expected from a child like Toshtley. Even after getting betrayed by someone very close to him, Toshtley doesn't show any signs of betrayal and vengeance. We can clearly see that Toshtley isn't even thinking about Mazatzin's betrayal. He is exhibiting the signs of a self-centered child who is busy in his own world. He is just obsessed with the fact of being a samurai at any cost. While that if I was at Mazatzin, I'd fled to the Empire of Japan and over there I would have ordered a sword to be made for me so I could be a real samurai. This tells us his immense desire to be a real samurai. This dream doesn't let him focus on any other thing. He is so obsessed about his dream that he puts himself in Mazatzin's place just to get the sword. He is too childish and careless to even think about vengeance and betrayal. This ultimately supports our claim that they are adult emotions and cannot be expected from a child, especially like Toshtley. As we proceed towards the end, we can clearly say that Fernando experiences betrayal and vengeance. Even after all this, he tries to forgive Wilmer as he has a big heart, but I guess they were not meant to be together, as Wilmer gets murdered towards the end of the story. Fernando is all alone now and there is no happiness in his life. While on the For this presentation, I have cited work from two of the readings. First one is Our Lady of the Assassins, and the second one is Down the Rabbit Hole.